This is episode number 45 with Dalip Shekhawat, an educator from Manitoba, Canada, who is no stranger to challenge. Last May, Dalip reached the summit of Mount Everest to raise funds for the Amand School in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and is now preparing for his next challenge that's tied into raising funds for the Wounded Warriors of Canada, where he will run a combined distance of more than 500 kilometers, that's 311 miles, over different terrain and different climates and at different altitudes to stimulate the physical adversities these warriors faced. Welcome to the Neuroscience Meets Social and Emotional Learning podcast. My name is Andrea Samadi. I'm a former educator who's been fascinated with understanding the science behind high performance strategies in schools, sports, and the workplace for the past 20 years. Each week, we bring you an expert who's risen to the top of their field with specific strategies or ideas that you can implement immediately, whether you're a teacher or student in the classroom or working in the corporate world, to take your results to the next level. Welcome, Dalip.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you so much for being here. Dalip, I want to first of all thank my friend Cheryl Watt. She lives in Winnipeg and she sent me over your story. And when I first read about your challenge to summit Mount Everest to raise funds for the St. Amand Center with people with developmental disabilities, I knew I needed to reach out immediately to you. And now I find out you're in the middle of raising funds for another just as equally important challenge for the Wounded Warriors. That's so inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here on Daylight Savings Time Change Day, so bright and early on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I got up so early. That's fine, yeah.
The early start is a good start, right?
Yeah.
So Dalip, I'm going to get right into the questions for you.
Okay.
I'm an avid hiker here in Arizona. We've got quite a few mountains, but I can never imagine hiking up Mount Everest. What was behind the drive to motivate you to actually summit Mount Everest and then your next challenge to run more than 500 kilometers?
Okay, Andrea, that's a great question. Actually, there are two big drives behind that. One, it comes from my deep sense of family duty and respect for my parents. And the second one is we live in a very soft environment, which is full of easy access and effortless entertainment. We aren't prepared for any hardships or adversities. When things get tough, we quit or we play victim to it. I chose to fight back to my failures, disappointments, and discriminations by channelizing this negativity to fuel my passion. And that's why I chose to go for bigger goals.
Wow. Well, those are huge goals. And I actually have heard about people hiking Everest, but I never really dove deep into it until I was reading your story. How did you prepare for Everest? So I read that you've climbed more than 15 other mountains, and I just wonder, where are they? Because the last time I looked, I only saw 2 mountains in Manitoba.
Yeah, we have a garbage hill here, which is not actually a mountain. So yeah, as far as my preparation goes, it took me over 15 years of preparation, planning, and training. I followed a strict progressive training plan and a spiritual regime to prepare myself. And my training was kind of dissected into a very cellular level details to prepare myself physically and mentally. So I did long days. I went on multi-day hikes. I did ultra running. I emptied my tank. I trained until I was exhausted. I did dehydration training to build more tolerance for thirst. I did cold training. Manitoba winters are great for that. I joined Winter Ultra and did winter camping. I did some hunger tolerance training because there you have to go without food for more than 36 hours. I did hypoxic training where I had Go for Fit masks to increase my lung capacity and increase my diaphragm strength. I also did weight training. I carried 30 kilos of backpack to get used to that weight, which I have to carry up to Camp 3, and then carry my oxygen cylinder up there. And I also train for sleep deprivation training because you don't sleep at that altitude. It's so dysregulated there. And I also trained cardio and endurance training to prepare for physically, for the Everest. But beside that, I trained spiritually too. I meditated over years to visualize and experience the powerful atmosphere and consciousness of Himalayas. And I treated this climb as a pilgrimage to Mother Goddess of all mountain. I wanted to feel my oneness with the entirety. So all this, summed up, and I uh, I've been climbing I had been climbing for 15 years. Most of my climbs are in India after doing my basic and advanced mountaineering courses. I climbed in Karakoram and Janskar ranges in Himalayas, northern India. I did Shatidhar Peak, Friendship Peak, Stoke Kangri, Mount Kun, Peak 40. I climbed in Canadian Rockies. I did Mount Belfour, Mount Victoria, Mount Olive. I went on Wapta Traverse. Also, I climbed in Mexico, where I did Mount Orizaba, Mount Ista, Mount Malinki, Mount Toluca, and I also went on Iceland Trail. Beside that, I had indicators for me to tell me that I'm ready for Everest, where I did 100 miles to indicate that I'm ready for Everest. So that's all preparation you have to go through, and it was progressive. Started from like 3 years, and then it narrowed down to more intense. The last 6 months before my climb, it was almost like I was so fixated on doing push-ups, core training, because I had one thing in my head, that I had to go to the summit and come back safe.
Wow. Wow, I got goosebumps at all of that because I can't imagine. And you did all this training while you were working at the St. Amand School? Is this?
Yes. So yeah, add to that, I used to get up at 4 a.m. and I still get up at 4 a.m. And I start my day with meditation. Then I do my strength building training. And during my lunch hour at work, I do stair climbing and I go for long walks. And in the evening, I do my main variable high intensity training. So that's how you have to struggle between time, energy, and money. Those are the big factors, and we all have same 24 hours. So that's how I managed it.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's a good strategy to get up early. It's a brilliant strategy.
Yeah.
Now, what physical toll did this take on your body? And as I looked at it, is it true that it takes 2 months to actually hike to the summit? Can you take me through the start to the finish of the summit and then coming back?
During the climb, we face so many dangers like avalanches, earthquakes, which account for 40% of death on Mount Everest. There are frostbite, kumbu cough, extreme cold and strong winds. There's high altitude sickness, which causes cerebral and pulmonary edema, cardiac arrest, muscle wasting, crevasses, traffic jam, gear failure, dysfunctional sleep. And it also depends on individual training, how you prepare for it. And believe me, anything can go wrong, and it will go wrong. So as far as I'm concerned, I lost 15 pounds, and I felt very weak after the climb. I felt my toes were numb for months, and I had a serious frostbite on 2 of my toes, which I have to get them removed. So it takes a big toll on your body, because going through those extremes, which you cannot prepare, makes it little hard on body.
Wow. Wow, what a sacrifice for this. When I read that 2 out of 6 of those you were hiking with didn't make it back down, I wondered how on the earth could you prepare for that? What mental strength did you have to develop to handle that? Just before that, was there any point that you thought this is not worth it? You have a family at home to come home to. Did you ever think about turning back?
I think to prepare for this kind of situation, you reach summit after 4 days of grueling and freezing climb. It was like a dream come true. There is no way to prepare or simulate the power of 36 hours in that zone, where you earn a decade of glory and wisdom while being exhausted, dehydrated, sleep deprived, hungry, suffering from high altitude sickness. Your body encountered disease climbers, and your body is dying cell by cell and minute by minute as long as you stay in the death zone. So it's hard to say that there is a way to prepare for it. You have to go there and experience it. That's the only way I can say, to prepare. And I had flashbacks initially when I got back. And through meditation, I healed myself. And as long as my family is concerned, I detached myself emotionally from all those traps before I went for this expedition, because I knew the results and the risk involved in that. And I answered those tough questions during my meditation so that they won't stop me. So I was mentally prepared for those situations.
Well, I bet your wife is happy the next challenge is a run on the ground, right?
Yeah, I think that sometimes you have to choose your battles. I wanted something bigger, and sometimes you go with intensity, sometimes you go with what you want to do, and sometimes budget is also important, because feeding a family and sometimes gets hard to have that much saving.
So how did this experience change you, and what did you learn about yourself? I'm sure there's so many insights along the way.
Climbing Everest was a huge undertaking physically, mentally, and financially. I felt very proud after waving the flag of Canada along with Saint Amand and Royal Winnipeg Rifles flag on the summit. And the biggest thing is, after seeing the cosmic size of Everest and getting the aerial view of the world from 30,000 feet, gave me a better sense of sizing up problems in my life. And I used the gain momentum to fuel new and bigger challenges.
What could be bigger than Mount Everest?
I think bigger challenges, we all have our own Everest to climb in life. There are challenges which people don't understand. We all go through it. And the big lesson I learned is not all the physical and mental limitations are real. Through self-discipline and commitment, we all have the power to pull the impossible.
Absolutely. I firmly believe that as well. Dalip, that is so insightful. I want to thank you so much for your quick reply to do this interview. I know that there's a lot of wisdom that comes from this, and from people hearing your story, they can learn so much. And if anyone wants to support your Wounded Warriors Challenge, I have put the link in the show notes, and I'll put it in the YouTube as well, so that they could donate, because it's very important. You can't do these challenges without raising funds for somebody else. So my last question is, can you give some final thoughts on why it's so important to raise funds for disadvantaged groups like Wounded Warriors and St. Amand School?
I think as a responsible citizen, I feel it is my moral duty to contribute to the community and the country. During Mount Everest climb, I raised funds for St. Amand Foundation to help provide resources and tools for individuals we support. And now I'm raising funds for Wounded Warriors Canada to honor the fallen and support the ill and injured soldiers, veterans, first responders, and their family affected by war and peacekeeping missions. My appeal is to raise $5,000, and all proceeds will go to help ill and injured soldiers, veterans, first responders, and their families in need. And through these runs, I'm simulating the physical adversities which they face during those conditions. So I think there is a very solid reason, as I said in my whys, that why my drives, it's a duty to respond to this, and contribute to the community.
It absolutely is. You're a model citizen, Dalip. And I want to thank you so much for sharing this experience, because there's so much more to it than just you hiked up Everest. There's the whole preparation that a lot of people don't understand is behind it, the whole reason why you did it, the whole reason why you're supporting the wounded warriors. So we look forward to helping you promote what you're doing and to see you raise the $5,000 you need to support wounded warriors, and to follow whatever challenge you set up in the future, because I know there's going to be many more, right?
Yes, that's true. This is just the starting point, you know. I want to pick my battle, and I want to get it harder and harder and take it to the next level and engage the community in a healthier way, so that, you know, people can learn that it's possible. You know, don't hide from it, don't run from it, embrace it, and create a system in your body where you can feed all this negativity and, you know, grow out of it and face it.
You're a model citizen. Thank you so much, Dalip. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to to be here today.